Dr. Kim, I got something for you in the mail.
Oh wow, what is this?
It looks like it's written to Korean American Studies from Invent2Prevent.
Invent2Prevent. I wonder if this is the sponsorship that we've been expecting. Let me go
I
ahead and
don't
open this
know.
up. There's an envelope inside here. It says Korean American Studies. And then they go ahead and open this up. It looks like it might be a letter. I don't know. We'll see what this says. Oh my goodness, what is this?
Wow, it's $1,000 check to the Korean American Studies course.
Wow, thank you, Invent2Prevent. We're going to be using this for some great things.
Thank you.
So the other day I was invited to share out at the Teach Empowered webinar. The topic was on transforming cultural vacant lots to spaces where stories are known and told. And in that space, I talked a little bit about our Invent2Prevent goals. So what exactly are we doing with these funds and with our partnership with Invent2Prevent? So once again, going back to the transforming cultural vacant lots to spaces where stories are known and told, when I know the Martin Luther King story, does that not enrich me and strengthen my own story of resilience? The same with Sylvia Mendez. When I know her story, what if I were to ask you to name one Korean American that made a difference in the United States? Now, there are many, but if you couldn't name one, and I couldn't name one for many years, then we have a cultural vacant lot. So how do we transform these vacant spaces to where stories are known and told? Now, with Invent2Prevent, one of our goals and the goal of the program is to reduce the risk of targeted violence to various groups, and in our case, Asian Americans, which often begins with dehumanization as an early step pre-leading to violence. And we talked about stereotypes and how stereotypes can lead toward violence, whether they're the stereotypes of yellow peril, persistent foreigner, or model minority. All these stereotypes oftentimes create a monolith in the Asian American community when it's such a very, very diverse space. And that could be the precursor to targeted violence. But through this Korean American Studies course, our goal is to humanize the Korean American experience. And once again, it's not just for Korean Americans, but all Americans, because first of all, if you can know one group's story, I think that helps see other or think about other groups' story, creating the empathy, right? But in regards to the Korean American experience, what you're also going to see is lots of connections and intersections with other groups, whether it's the Black community or Hispanic Latino community, indigenous communities, because our stories are interconnected and they also intersect as well. And so when you know the Korean American story, it also helps one connect to those other stories and therefore then lowering or reducing the risk of targeted violence through education and prevention. So that's actually our first goal. The first goal is for students to put together a Korean American Study Stories of Resilience dedication night. This happened. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. Students had been working on ethnographies and oral histories. They began with themselves, and then they said thank you to their families for their migration story. Oftentimes it has not had the opportunity. Students have not had the opportunity to do that. And then also listening to one another thank their families. And in our group, about 1 out of every 4 students are not Korean American. And so once again, it creates an intersection and connection. And that's a model, that first, this dedication night. What if this were happening in elementary schools or other high schools or other spaces where students would gather together and thank their families for their migration story? Could that help to humanize the experience for all Americans and all people? That's goal number 1. So goal number 1 we pilot tested it out, and it was a very beautiful experience. Goal number 2 now is for students to become JEDI. JEDI stands for an acronym for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Consultants. And now that our students know how to know and tell their own stories, they are equipped or will be equipped and will create tools to further equip others to also know and tell their stories as well. So this could be a variety of different prongs. I could see this, and once again, it will be students, as this is a peer-led initiative for students to think about what it is that they want to do. It could include creating events where they are supporting others to create their own ethnographies. And that could be or creating templates and supports so that other students or teachers or adults or community members could also create their own ethnographies for stories to be known and told. That could be one powerful component of goal number 2 for students to become Jedi. Secondly, also this idea of perhaps designing some merch. So once again, symbols are so powerful. So if you look at the right-hand slide of the slide, it's a logo of our Korean American Studies class co-constructed by students. Once again, this Korean American Studies class is for Korean Americans and all Americans, and reminding us that that happens through us knowing our story, telling our story, listening to one another's stories with empathy and respect, and doing something good with our story. So that was actually designed by a student. But what if we created some like merch that kind of reminded people, hey, let's share our stories with one another. It could be on cups or t-shirts. Once again, these symbols can be very powerful to encourage, these practices, these habits, to humanize the experience for not just Korean Americans, but all Americans. And then the third idea that I have for Jedi, and already we're receiving requests as others have been very interested in what we're doing in our Korean American Studies class, is being invited to conferences. For example, very recently I was invited to the Gabe conference, and then I asked, hey, would it be okay if I brought a team of students to come and share what it is that they did? And so once again, here are our students, they're high school level, but they're getting like this really like collegiate, or even beyond college, right? Because teachers present at Kabe, right? Educators, professionals. So having that experience very early on, but not just to attend, but to actually be telling their story and sharing their practices, I think that could be a very powerful way to be Jedi consultants, right? And then there's part 3 of the course, which is the Korean American Virtual Museum. So already there's been a lot of module. This course is project-based, so we move from module to module, and we've been collecting and archiving our student work, which is wonderful. I already have a lot. So what will this eventual Korean American Virtual Museum look like? So we have some ideas, but we want to continue to really think about what this space could look like. And then fortunately, we have the opportunity to also partner with a group called eCadence, and they have a premier learning management system, and working with some of their programs to think through what an artificial intelligence bot might look like in these virtual museums to help guide others to know and tell their story as well. So we talked about students being Jedi, but then also having a space where the material is archived. Of course, the Jedi, the students, can also use this space to be a launch pad to sharing ideas. But in the event that our students were not available, let's say, right, there could also be an AI bot in there that's that's there for anyone to also connect with, and through that also hear these stories as well. So we're just at the beginning conversations of what that AI bot could look like, and excited for what that will look like in the future as well. So we're thankful for the Invent2Prevent funds, which give us some flexibility on implementing some of these ideas and using some of that funding to support whether it's goal number 1, goal number 2, or goal number 3.